In Lebanon, Hezbollah issued a call for the evacuation of 25 settlements in northern occupied Palestine, sites of deployment and positioning for Israeli military forces. In Uruguay, everything is ready for general elections where 2.7 million people will elect the president who will govern them for the next 5 years. And in Colombia, in the midst of COP16, organizations from the countries that share the Amazon presented a new group to advocate for biodiversity, climate change, and defend their territory. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. In Lebanon, Hezbollah issued a call for the evacuation of 25 settlements in northern occupied Palestine, sites of deployment and positioning for Israeli military forces. The audio-visual warning was addressed to the Israeli settlers still present in these settlements who were ordered to leave these localities immediately. This tactic, according to several local analysts, marks a new escalation between Lebanon and Israel in addition to the impressive increase in attacks against the occupied territory. Moreover, in the last 24 hours, the Lebanese resistance has carried out 48 raids, launching airstrikes against several military installations and concentrations of soldiers. And in Iran, in the city of Mashhad, citizens gathered to show their support for Palestinians and Lebanon. The Israeli follows Israel's recent military strikes on several Iranian military facilities. Despite the significant nature of the strikes, there were no reports of mass civilian casualties or damage to Iran's economic infrastructure, which may provide a route for de-escalation. The rally in Mashhad underscores the deep-seated support for Palestinian and Lebanese causes within Iran citizens, as well as the country's resolve to stand by its allies in the face of escalating hostilities. And in Sudan, the United Nations has demanded that the government allow access to its personnel to address the food crisis affecting the Sudanese people. According to the United Nations Agency for Refugees and the Children's Fund, Sudan's constraints are hampering international organizations from being able to deliver supplies and protection to the country's most vulnerable communities. The agency warned that at least 14 regions in Sudan are on the brink of famine, while in North Darfur, famine conditions already exist. International agencies estimate that 3.7 million children under the age of 5 will suffer from severe acute malnutrition at the end of 2024, who need urgent treatment to safeguard their lives. And in Portugal, thousands of protesters filled the streets of Lisbon to demonstrate against police violence and racism. The event follows a week of unrest triggered by the fatal shooting of a 43-year-old man from Cape Verde by Portuguese police. The march, which took place on the city's central Avenida de Liberdade, was marked by peaceful but determined protests. Demonstrators chanted slogans such as "No peace without justice" and "Police violence, colonial heritage," and carried placards with messages including "Racism kills" and "Black Lives Matter." The incident has sparked widespread outrage and allegations of police brutality, particularly in neighborhoods with large immigrant communities.
A young man has died. He left behind a family. Now we are asking for justice. Justice to see what will happen from now on for the future in relation to what has just happened. This must be a lesson. It's enough of letting these kinds of acts be carried out by the police.
There is a history of police violence in Portugal. The black population is 21 times more likely to be fatally injured by the police than the rest of the population. We have to face up to this reality. It's not the fault of the police officers, it's the fault of the police model.
Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. In Uruguay, polling stations open at 8 a.m. local time on Sunday for more than 2.7 million eligible voters to elect the president and renew the parliament, in addition to deciding on two controversial referendums. The 7,225 voting centers set up across the country will be open until 7 p.m. time for citizens to exercise their right to vote, which is mandatory in Uruguay. Electoral authorities informed that the voting hours could be extended in those centers that needed it. According to the national press, the country is clearly divided between maintaining the ruling party or returning to a leftist government. Uruguayans will also vote this day for two referendums, one on night rates and the other for the Social Security reform. And Uruguay is voting this Sunday, October 27th, on two plebiscites to reform the constitution, one on Social Security and the other on the authorization of nighttime rates, which will be submitted to a vote at the same time the presidential and legislative elections are held.
En cuanto a la propuesta de reforma
The pension reform proposal seeks to amend Article 67 of the National Constitution in order to prohibit individual savings systems for retirement purposes, in addition to setting the minimum retirement age at 60 years and establishing that pensions may not be less than the national minimum wage.
podrán ser menores que el salario mínimo nacional. Las modificaciones que propone esta iniciativa.
The amendments proposed by this initiative involve eliminating the administrators of pension savings funds, known as FAPs, private agents of the mixed Social Security system in force since 1996, and granting the state the monopoly of Social Security. They also imply leaving without effect the retirement reform law of 2023, which raised the minimum retirement age to 65 years.
Que subió a 65 años de edad mínima de retiro. El proyecto de reforma
The
constitucional.
constitutional reform bill is being promoted by labor unions, various social organizations, and some sectors of the leftist Broad Front Party, the main opposition force, including the Communist Party and the Socialist
Partido
Party.
Comunista y el Partido Socialista. El otro tema que será sometido a
The other
plebiscito
issue to be
es la
submitted to a
inseguridad
plebiscite is insecurity, a matter of concern for Uruguayans amid an increase in violence and drug trafficking. The plebiscite on security proposed by parliamentarians of the ruling coalition seeks to enable nighttime raids on homes, currently prohibited by the Constitution, Article 11 of which guarantees the inviolability of the home and allows entry only during the day with a court
permite la
order.
entrada solo de día con orden judicial. Esta iniciativa en materia de
This
seguridad
security
ha
initiative
generado
has generated
rechazo
rejection among
desde
various
los
sectors
sectores
who have
que están
warned about the
alertados sobre las
implications that this
implicaciones
measure would
que
have on the
esta medida
protection of
tendría en la
citizens'
protección de
rights.
los
One of
derechos
them
de los
is the
ciudadanos.
Broad Front, which considers that this proposal is not the best way to solve the serious security problems facing the country, and has therefore decided not to support it.
Por lo que ha sido no respaldada. La Corte Electoral de Uruguay
Uruguay's electoral court announced that polling stations will open from 8 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., where millions of Uruguayans will elect their next president, vice president, and other public officials who will hold office for 5 years. The counting of the votes will begin at the close of polling day.
momento que cierre la jornada electoral.
The mothers and fathers of the 43 Ayotzinapa students have requested a direct meeting with the President of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum, 121 months after the disappearance of their children. At the end of a march held this Saturday in the capital of the country, the mothers and fathers of the students expressed their concern and asked to return to meetings with federal authorities. They ratified that they want to continue with the investigations and will not allow the army to obstruct them. Isidoro Vicario, lawyer for the families, remarked that as long as there is no conclusive and scientific proof of the whereabouts of the students, they will continue to demand that they be found alive. And after the BRICS summit, Venezuela prepares to continue with bilateral cooperation with emerging countries beyond the refusal of Brazil to join the BRICS, facts that have generated multiple reactions. Details in the following report with Madeleine Garcia.
These
silos are considered one of the largest in Latin America and are located in Venezuela. It is the agri-food company ZEAL. The private sector closed ranks with the Venezuelan government to overcome the illegal sanctions of the United States and move forward.
The government called on us to produce more than oil, because that is where we were hit the hardest by the sanctions, and we had to get ahead in another way. And what is the way we had to get ahead? Agriculture.
Y salir adelante es el norte.
And getting ahead is the north. Brazil's impediment for the country to join the BRICS does not stop growth. And now more than ever, there are plenty of alternatives. The reactions of businessmen like Carla were not long in coming.
What to do now? We have to establish commercial alliances with Venezuela's allied countries, but not only to buy and sell, but to integrate them in a win-win situation to establish external structures to the SWIFT with other currency possibilities to trade nationally and internationally.
The popular sectors were surprised by President Lula da Silva's action, but they're clear that the country has moved forward with blockades and obstacles, and nothing will stop it.
That is a tremendous betrayal, because we have always seen that Venezuela has defended Brazil, because we feel them as brothers and that they are going to do this tremendous thing to us. But it does not matter. God is with us. Who has fought for Venezuela is God and will continue fighting for Venezuela. Let us give glory to God for that. You know why? Because we are standing up for ourselves, for our efforts.
The president of the National Assembly described Brazil's position as a shame.
But it is offensive, it is rude, and it is a drag position to have maintained an attitude that does not match at all with the climate, nor with the objectives, nor with the principles of this meeting of the BRICS, where President Maduro took a position that is in line with the principle for which the BRICS was founded. The creation of another pole, which is a pole based on freedom, independence, exchange, solidarity, and the growth of new powers. Venezuela will continue to move forward.
Opposition deputies coincide in condemning President Lula's action, aligned with former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro.
What Lula has done is very simple. He has been imprisoned. He has entered into the same discourse as Bolsonaro. It is unusual to see that he shares this policy of imperialism and isolationism. He strengthens the Venezuelan ultra-right wing. That is what one suddenly finds strange.
This security initiative has generated rejection among various sectors who have warned about the implications that this measure would have on the protection of citizens' rights.
This BRICS summit for Venezuela was an absolute and resounding success. Why? Because nothing more and nothing less than Putin confronted Lula, telling him that the president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela is called Nicolas Maduro. Putin confronted Lula, saying that he does not agree with the decisions that are being taken in relation to Venezuela.
Brazil's blackmail, which asked Venezuela to show the minutes of the last presidential elections of July 28th, which were also filed with the Supreme Court of Justice, was buried at the BRICS summit. In November, there will be a meeting of the mixed commission between Russia and Venezuela to continue advancing cooperation.
We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcasting, and some more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back. In Colombia, in the midst of COP16, organizations from countries that share the Amazon presented a new group to advocate for biodiversity, climate change, and defend their territory. In the middle of a space known as Mambadero, which is a traditional conversation with indigenous and Amazonian grandparents from other peoples of the world, a new coalition called G9 was born, with the firm determination to defend indigenous peoples, their territories, and their rights. The new group is made up of indigenous peoples from Colombia, Bolivia, Ecuador, Suriname, Guyana, and Venezuela, Brazil, and Peru.
In the face of the threats we face, exploitation of natural resources, deforestation, exploitation of hydrocarbons, mining, organized crime, climate variability, invasion, expansion of the agricultural frontier and dispossession of our land, we reaffirm our ancestral commitment to be a strategic partner in the protection and conservation of biodiversity and life. The environmental crisis is cured from the territories which are the best preservers. Therefore, the demarcation of our land is a fundamental pillar in the fight against the climatic crisis. Otherwise, we will not have peace with nature.
Nicaragua celebrated the traditional parade of the Aguizotes, a festivity that revives the country's popular myths and legends. Let's see.
During the day, Manimbo in the Department of Masaya is the scene of the colorful parade of the children's Aguizotes, in which dozens of children, accompanied by their parents, participated in this tradition that shows Nicaraguan myths and legends that continue in the new generations.
I am very happy thanks to the Aguizotes. Here I celebrate all the legends of Masaya, like the taconuda and the carreta.
I am participating in the traditions of Masaya since Masaya is multi-ethnic and multicultural. It is great to transmit the customs and traditions that Masaya has, since Masaya has an endless number of them.
It is the first time that my daughter participates in these events of the Aguizotes. We are proud and happy of Masaya and its traditions. We will continue with these traditions, instilling in her the traditions of Masaya.
At nightfall, thousands of young people and adults walked more than 4 kilometers of this folkloric city, wearing costumes representing iconic characters of Nicaraguan colorful stories.
Being the scarecrow is a great joy for me. Year after year I have done this. I like very much to be here dancing and enjoying everything.
This tradition has been going on for about 50 years and we have been rescuing it for about 7 years. We are thankful to the good government we have because without this government this would have been lost.
The government of Nicaragua supports these popular festivities as part of its commitment to preserve and promote the country's cultural richness.
We are here with these myths and legends of fear with the famous Aguizotes of Masaya, which unite all the people of Masaya, of all generations, from children to adults, all our government, our mayor's office, we are all accompanying all the people of Masaya, as it corresponds to our good government together with the people of Masaya, bringing forward the culture and tradition, because art, culture, and tradition is also part of the restitution of rights, but also of the values that we have been promoting from our government.
Pero también de los valores que desde nuestro gobierno venimos impulsando.
In addition to the cultural richness, this festivity boosts tourism and local commerce.
Kenia Doña, teleSUR, Nicaragua.
We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website, telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For telesur English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.